Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am super excited to jump right into this one with you because, well, we're tackling a massive societal myth head on. From the time we're little kids in school, we are basically taught that being smart is the ultimate advantage, right? We're told that a high IQ, top grades, and just raw brain power are your golden tickets to an extraordinary life. But what if they aren't? Today, we are completely deconstructing this concept called intellectual inertia. We're going to look at the fascinating and honestly sometimes infuriating reasons why intelligence alone absolutely does not guarantee success. In fact, we'll see why it can actually be the exact thing holding you back.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to just take a second and think about somebody you know. Have you ever met someone who is just incredibly smart? I'm talking about a certified genius, the kind of person who can effortlessly debate super complex topics or solve really intricate problems. Yet you look at them years later and they are still in the exact same place. They have no big achievements to point to, no real progress in their career or personal life, and definitely no extraordinary success. It's a totally baffling phenomenon, isn't it?
So let's look at Section 1, the intelligence paradox. If you have ever pulled your hair out watching a brilliant person just spin their wheels, trust me, your frustration is incredibly valid. I found this absolutely fascinating when looking at the research. It turns out that intelligence on its own simply isn't enough to get ahead. Raw brain power is fantastic, sure, but without a specific set of accompanying behaviors, it's honestly like having a high-performance sports car with no tires. Just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got this highly intelligent individual who is completely stuck. And on the other, you have someone who might be considered, less intellectually gifted, yet they're consistently moving ahead, crushing their goals, and building this remarkable life. So why on earth does this happen? Well, the painful reality is that the very habits that make people smart are often the exact same habits that keep them stuck.
Moving right along to Section 2, the overthinking trap.
This trap right here is probably the heaviest burden of the highly intelligent mind, and you might actually be familiar with its core, analysis paralysis. We can define this as the state of overanalyzing every single risk, problem, and potential mistake to the absolute extreme, right up to the point where actually starting something becomes completely impossible. You see, smart people have the cognitive capacity to see every possible bad outcome. So while average folks just kind of shrug, go ahead, and take action, highly intelligent people stay completely stuck analyzing all the variables. It turns out the more they think, the harder it becomes to actually take that very first step.
It's almost kind of funny when you break down the internal logic here, even though I know it's incredibly frustrating for the person going through it. The workflow literally looks exactly like this. Step 1. Use your brilliant mind to successfully identify every conceivable risk. Step 2. Overanalyze those risks until they look like insurmountable mountains. And step 3. Do absolutely nothing. It is a perfectly executed, highly intelligent process that results in zero forward momentum. They're entirely paralyzed by their own intellect. And this leads us directly into the perfection trap. Intelligent people desperately crave certainty before they do anything. They wait for the perfect strategy to just reveal itself. They wait for the perfect timing in the market or in their personal lives. They wait for that perfect, totally risk-free opportunity. But as we all know, life just doesn't work that way. The real world is messy. Wildly successful people routinely start things way before they're actually ready because they understand one fundamental truth. Progress always, always beats perfection. Which brings us to Section 3, fear of looking stupid. Now, let's shift gears for a minute from the intellectual traps over to the emotional ego traps. So the crucial point here is this. Smart people are just used to being right. And that's where the emotional weight of being the smart one really starts to take its toll. Pretty much their whole lives they've been praised for their intelligence. They've always been rewarded for having the correct answers. Because of this, when they're finally faced with something brand new, something where they are a total beginner and where failing is a very real possibility, it feels incredibly uncomfortable to them. It literally threatens their whole identity. And that dynamic creates a really stark divide in behavior. To protect their ego, highly intelligent people will often just default to avoiding risk altogether. They steer totally clear of any situation where they might look inexperienced or foolish. But if you contrast that with the mindset required for actual growth, you'll see that taking calculated risks is mandatory. Whether you're starting a business, making investments, or navigating some massive career change, growth demands stepping into the unknown. By focusing 100% on what could go wrong, smart people end up completely missing the very opportunities that actually create success.
Let's look at Section 4, the illusion of progress.
Now, this is a super sneaky pitfall because smart people find incredibly sophisticated ways to procrastinate while still feeling super productive. They genuinely love learning. They consume books, they devour podcasts, they buy all the courses, and they'll watch endless educational videos. And hey, let's be totally clear, these learning tools are highly valuable. But they become a really dangerous trap when smart people use them as a substitute for actual real-world action. Gathering information starts to feel like real work, but it's not. It's just preparation.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer contrast in timelines. You have individuals who spend literally years preparing. They are painstakingly building the ultimate foundation of theory. And then you have those who spend those exact same years actually doing the thing, failing, adjusting, and just trying again. So let me ask you, who do you think gets better results? The person with the perfect theoretical framework or the one with years of messy, boots-on-the-ground, real-world experience?
It all boils down to this singular, incredibly powerful truth. Knowledge without action changes nothing. You can read every single book out there on entrepreneurship or fitness or art, but until you actually start a business or lift a weight or pick up a paintbrush, you haven't actually changed your reality. Action is the required bridge between intelligence and actual results.
Finally, Section 5, Action Beats Intelligence. This is the ultimate resolution to the intelligence paradox. Right here, we have to elevate messy, imperfect action over pure, stagnant intellect. Smart people love searching for the absolute best strategy, the smartest shortcut, or the most perfectly efficient method. They want to craft the brilliant plan, but I've found this to be incredibly true across the board. Success in the real world is almost always built on daily consistency. Small, totally unglamorous actions repeated day in and day out will constantly beat a brilliant, masterfully crafted plan that just sits in a drawer and never actually gets executed.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core takeaway today. Why exactly do smart people stay stuck? Well, because they overthink. They wait for perfection. They fear failure because it threatens who they are. They avoid the calculated risks that are totally necessary for growth. And they use infinite learning as a clever substitute for acting. History is absolutely packed with examples where seemingly average people achieved mind-blowing things purely through persistence. Not because they were the smartest people in the room, but simply because they just kept moving forward.
I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. Intelligence is undeniably powerful, no doubt about it. But the smartest idea in the history of the world means absolutely nothing if it never leaves your mind. So ask yourself, are you using your intelligence to actually move forward and build the life you want? Or are you just using it to smartly justify standing perfectly still? It's time to stop over-preparing. It is time to take action. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it sparked some curiosity and motivation for you today. Catch you next time.